Now we got a team like the Jaguars or the Chargers, right? What do you think about them? Do we think there are two teams that start up practice today? If you had to choose one of those two, right? I mean, we know both playoff teams, very even, 27-0, come back, beat them, blah, blah, blah. Mike, who out of those two teams do you look at to go, all right, no, they go to the next level this year, and they start to become more of a threat to the Chiefs, Bengals, and the teams at the top of the AFC?
Let me start with the Jaguars because they provide a data point to prove what we were suggesting just a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah.
You get past the drama, and what happens?
Right.
What happens?
Yeah.
That Urban Meyer crap. I mean, that was as bad as it gets. It was an embarrassment to the game. It set the team back a decade, and they got past it in 1 year. You get a real NFL head coach. What a shock. Who would have guessed that if you get rid of a Fugazi guy who never should have been coaching in the NFL, what the hell was Shad Khan thinking when he had to hire Urban Meyer? And I remember at the time, because there's always a segment in our business of people who will embrace the next big thing from a coaching standpoint, just in case the person ends up being good. Then you get access galore because that person's taking notes, just like Ryan Howard. He's got his list, who believed in me and who didn't. But I remember saying, what's this Urban Meyer thing? Like, there's all these other teams looking for coaches, and nobody wants him. Nobody wants him. Chris Spielman has deep ties to Ohio State, and they're looking for a coach in Detroit. And Urban Meyer was the king of Columbus, and they're not even putting this guy on the radar screen. Something's not adding up here. So look at all that crap. For a change, I was right. Look at all that crap they went through, and they turned it around last year. And now the question is, how do you deal with success? How do you build on unlikely success? What's the next step for Trevor Lawrence? Can they be? We act like it's Bills, Bengals, Chiefs. I mean, one of the Final Four teams in the AFC last year was the Jaguars, and they gave the Chiefs everything they could handle. Maybe we should be saying the Jaguars are the team, not the Ravens, that could crash that party.
I don't think it's crazy. I think they're in that conversation there. I don't know. There's a part of me that I look at like the Ravens and the Jaguars to what you're saying, and we look at the teams and their rosters, and I'd go, if we talk about Chiefs, King, Bengals, sitting there in second, Bills is 3, I'd go ahead. Teams like the Ravens and the Jaguars, I think could easily supplant the Bills as that number 3 team. Certainly. I think right now, if I look at the rosters, I'd go, yeah, I like their rosters more than Buffalo. Buffalo just has a guy that can close the gap on anybody. Like a Mahomes, Allen makes the game even. It doesn't matter who you play because he's just special. So no play, no situations ever done with Josh Allen. But I think team for team, like we saw at the end of the year, Jacksonville's got more talent and firepower than Buffalo. I think Baltimore does too. Let alone they got the ability to run and be physical and do all that as well. And they don't just ride one guy like the Bills do Josh Allen. So, I'm right there with you, Mike, in that, both of these teams, as far as Jaguars and Chargers, could be that team that infuses themselves into the conversation. The talent's there on paper, right? The Jaguars, we know, have the culture with the coaching stuff. I think the Chargers, were questioning that still a little bit. Can they stay healthy? What is Brandon Staley all about, right? I like Brandon Staley, but it's fair to question some of the things he's done. I get that too. And then they have 2 quarterbacks where, I don't know, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, they're like the same guy, aren't they? They look the same in the uniform, except they wear just a different number and got different colors. So they're special as well. And you throw that all into it and you go, yeah, these are teams that would I be shocked if we saw them on AFC Championship Sunday this year? I wouldn't be shocked at all.
No, and look, with all this talk about Bills, Bengals, Chiefs, there's going to be a team out there that is just filing it away and pissed off and working hard. Like Mr. T, working out in a crappy basement, doing pull-ups on ropes hanging from the rafters, just busting their butts, waiting for their opportunity to prove to everyone that they belong in that conversation, that they're as good as, if not better than, the teams everyone is trying to crown. And I think the Jaguars more likely than the Chargers, just because the Chargers still have that vibe. my very timely and hip reference, Rosanna Dana, it's always something with the Chargers. And I feel like it's not something that is going to go away, especially when you consider how their 2022 season ended. To have that big lead against the Jaguars and to blow it. That is not a taste that gets washed out of the mouth quickly. That's something that lingers. And we both like Brandon Staley. We got a ton of respect for him, but something is off with that team. The shine that was Justin Herbert, I feel like that has diminished, and maybe he has been eclipsed by Trevor Lawrence. You know, we set our narratives, and we don't like giving up on our narratives because we worked hard on coming up with that narrative, and we all have accepted the narrative, the Justin Herbert franchise quarterback. But at some point, you got to do the things franchise quarterbacks do, and that's win in January. Trevor Lawrence won in January head-to-head against Justin Herbert, and Herbert and his team blew it. There's just something with the Chargers. So I would put the Jaguars in better position to supplant or at least to invade what we have going on at the top of the conference. With the Chargers, they're going to have to prove to me that they've exercised their demons, because that game we saw on NBC when the Jaguars came back and took it, that proves conclusively the Chargers need an exorcism.
Yeah, I hear you there. I mean, hey, they had this kind of mantra a little bit even before Brandon Staley got there, right? There was the injuries and just like seemed like, it was always something. We were hopeful that Brandon Staley could fix it, and which I think he has to a degree. It's going in the right direction, but yeah, it does seem like it's always an injury, or it was the fourth down stuff from 2 years ago, right? So can they bring it all together? Herbert's special, but also too a little bit like Josh Allen. Can they help him more? I mean, they never can run the ball, right? They're not a good running football team. So can they do that and be balanced? You know, I think that's why they made a change at offensive coordinator this year too, because they went, wait, we're not even taking advantage of the guy and what he does. We're dinking and dunking and throwing 4-yard passes with a guy that's got a freaking laser for a right arm and can throw 50-yard, bombs easier than anybody in the sport. And we're sitting here throwing, let me throw another 4-yard throw. So I think that's why they made that change, Mike. To make sure everybody, wait, don't forget here, we got a freak of nature at quarterback here. They got one. They got a special one. And hopefully they can make it work here with him. But, you bring up good points, and it's going to be about, can they change that culture, that feeling, whatever it is here in this offseason, and help him out a little bit. Push the ball down the field. Trevor Lawrence has Travis Etienne, who runs for 1,000 yards. He's got an offensive head coach that's behind him. Hopefully Kellen Moore can, be that type of guy for Herbert and with the Chargers.
Gets back to the point that Alex Smith made last week.
I know. I was going to get to that.
Talking about on Thursday, right?
Yeah.
How do defensive coaches coach? How do offensive coaches coach? And what you may have in L.A., the B team in L.A., which is trying to be the A team, and this is their chance to do it because the former A team is now F+. But, sorry, Rams catching a stray there, but they deserve it. Brandon Staley not embracing and attacking. And that's the irony. For a guy who's aggressive, go for it on fourth down, the way the offense has been constructed, it is a lot of dinking and dunking. It's why Austin Eckler wants his big contract. They use him too much.
Right. Well, I mean, here's
they
a
put the ball in
4-yard
his hands
throw.
too much. They throw too many passes to him.
Right, exactly.
Get the ball down the field. You've got this guy that can be one of the greats of the game, and you're not using him the way that you could, the way that you should. And maybe it does go back to what Alex Smith said. Defensive coaches have a hard time properly developing and getting the most out of great young quarterbacks.
Yeah, no, it's certainly something to keep our eye on. He made a great point, something you've alluded to really the last few years. Brandon Staley, right, we know he played quarterback, so hopefully that's still something that's, on his mind, and which I think it is. I think he showed that. It's again, they fired a guy and he threw for 4,700 yards. They fired the offensive coordinator because I think he went, wait, this development's not going the right way. So good for him not doubling down and trying to be like, I didn't make a mistake with Joe Lombardi. We're going to stay with that guy. He realized it. They made the adjustment. Now, can they bring it all together on that side of the ball? Can Joey Bosa stay healthy? Can J.C. Jackson stay healthy? Right? They're always the injury bug. It's been a problem there. That's the other thing you got to look at, and hopefully they found some new ways to treat the offseason and change that aspect or bad luck of their franchise around as well.
That's one of the things that has just been consistently there. It's part of the "it's always something" mantra.
Yeah.
Injuries.
Right.
At a certain point, it's not just bad luck. At a certain point, there's something you're not doing right to get your players ready to pop up and keep going when their body gets pretzeled in a bunch of different directions. And we see that all the time. And guys pop up and keep going. And it requires a very careful nutrition and training and flexibility plan, recovery, rehab. Something's wrong there as well. And I agree with you completely. It's good that Brandon Staley didn't double down on the mistaken hire of Joe Lombardi to be the offensive coordinator, but you flip it around and say, you still made a mistake. You still hired the wrong guy. There was something off there. Something didn't add up. And this is hot seat year for Brandon Staley, and I just think that's the thing that makes it harder for them to be one of the ones to crash this party. And if they do, it'll be a hell of a story. It'll be a hell of a story because they will have thrived under maximum pressure.
Yeah.
I just feel like there's too much there on the Chargers for them to have that kind of freedom. You need to have an element of that where you need to be loose. You can't be tight. If you're going to compete with the best of the best, you got to be loose. You got to be confident. You can't be afraid of your own shadow. You can't be waiting impending doom. You've got to just go for it. And I just wonder whether or not the Chargers are going to be a little more restrained and careful this year because they feel the walls closing in.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they react to it all. But hopefully they're not like that. And I think to get out of the AFC West and get out of the AFC, they got to be aggressive and they got to be confident and go. And we'll see. And to your point, yeah, I hear you. I think it's a big year for Brandon Staley. I do. The biggest thing, again, like what we saw last year, every hot commodity new head coach guy, right, in the end of December, the Chargers are going to be a team anybody looks at. If there's there's a chance I could become the head coach, just like we saw this year. You and I heard from a lot of credible people around the NFL. Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton, they wanted the Chargers job. The Chargers job was the one they wanted. Everybody wanted the Chargers job. Why? Because the things you said. They got nowhere to go but up, right? LA's king. Chargers have never had success. And then you got freaking Justin Herbert at quarterback. And some talent on the roster to go along with it. So that's where it's going to continue to be a spot that the new head coach is going to look at. And that's where hopefully Brandon Staley and company can kick some butt this year and squash all that.
Case in point, the arrival of Sean Payton in Denver makes me at least say, I wonder. If he had been the new coach of the Chargers this year, it would be exclamation point. Hold on to your butts. Here come the Chargers. And again, I hate to say that because I don't want it to be a backhanded slap at Brandon Staley, but that's how I would have felt.
Sean Payton, right? It's just
That's
Sean
how I
Payton
would've felt.
factor, right? Hey, Sean Payton's been there, done that, and we saw his team towards the top of the mountain for almost 15 years straight. It's okay for you to say that. It's one of the greatest offensive minds in the sport. So I hear you there. Yeah, if they had Sean Payton, I think we'd all boost them up in our power rankings and go, watch out for the Chargers. Brandon Staley, the way he's handled situations, all these other things we've talked about, that's all led us to question them a little bit. And we'll see where it goes, and hopefully they answer those questions.
15 years of sustained greatness with a quarterback who, when he walks up to Justin Herbert, does this. So, yeah, what a difference it would have been to see Sean Payton with a guy of Justin Herbert's stature, and skills. Let's take a break. When we return, and we've made it 53 minutes through Chicken Salad Monday, some baby quarterbacks and some old-ass man quarterbacks. Which ones are in the best position to thrive this year? Monday, PFT Live, back right after this. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.